provided to the county clerk by January 9th, 2013, for it to be on the ballot March 18th, 2014. And that would be, I'm sorry, it would be, we need to provide it to the clerk on January 9th, 2014. So if we're going to do that, we need to talk about it a little bit, because it's the last meeting of September and time's going by fairly quickly, and everybody has a schedule of bond payments in front of them. And the other thing that we made up today was, if you go back to the 0.5% sales tax that we did a couple of years ago, there was 4,496 cards sent out, and returned there was 1,932, or 43%. And the yes cards were 22%, 994, and the no cards were 19%, 868. In a March ballot in a March primary ballot, voter turnout's probably going to be 22%, I'm guessing. So that's one other thing to look at. But what does anybody have? You know, for instance, if you have, and everybody will be provided this information that wants it. It's not all printed out right now. If you did a $2.5 million bond issue, that'd be a pool in a bathhouse. That would be fairly close, I think, from what I've heard from the pool committee. And it can be different. We have anywhere from a $2 million to a $2.5 million, and it could be $1.5 million, or it can be $3 million, whatever. But on the $2.5 million financed over 20 years, there's the value of a home, because like we've said, we're revenue flat. We're a balanced budget, but we're revenue flat. It's going to take revenue to build something like this. So for instance, if you have a $100,000 home, your tax would go up $54.39 a year. But we would have a pool and a bathhouse, and everybody would be back swimming again. So what's everybody's thoughts on this? I think we need to move forward. We have to have a plan, whether we go with it or not, but we have to let somebody let us know what they want to do. My only thought on, if you did it by the cards, like the 0.5% sales tax, because a referendum would be purely advisory referendum. And the cards, that was purely advisory also. You would be able to put it on your levy, and you'd be able to start on your design phase. If it passed, you'd be able to start on your design phase and start a little bit earlier, because you'd have it on this year's tax levy already. You could, is what I'm saying. And everybody has this in front of them, a sample of the card that came out a couple of years ago on the 0.5% sales tax, and more can be added, or some can be taken off, whatever. Once again, this is all available to anyone. It's just, it hasn't all been print out for the purposes as we sit here right now.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I support getting a pool. I'm not one to support any kind of a tax increase, whether it be a property tax or a utility fee. But I'm also in support of giving the people a voice and allowing them to go out and let us know what they would like to have us do. I would say that we should actually look for a plan B, though, instead of trying to fund a pool with a property tax. I know there's a lot of funds out there that we're needing to go for. I think we're going to be needing another $1.5 million at least, probably closer to $2 million. So I think we need to maybe consider doing the cards. I think that's a good way to go. I really don't think the majority of the people are going to support a property tax increase for a pool. But of course, I'm willing to hear what they have to say.
Well, everybody should know, all we're doing is asking, what do you want? What does the voter want? Or what does the $4,500 bills that go out every month, what do they want? They're also paying property tax, and that's what it's about. I don't know how else you're gonna come up with it.
Yeah, I don't quite understand. I think it's, if you want a swimming pool, you've got to find some way to finance it. So I don't really understand your thinking, Alderman Perez, by saying we want a swimming pool, but we don't want to finance it. So you really have to put that to the taxpayers is, are you willing to pay for it? You know,
Well,
I don't think it's going to magically appear unless there's some system to pay for it.
And I believe there is a system. I believe the system would be the same way we were going to look at a bike path. We were going to come up with, and that's pretty much the same thing, a want and a need. We were going to come up with close to $300,000 next year to help fund that bike path. I believe just like in our homes. I mean, For example, actually, for instance, what I'll give you a family of 7. They may want a pool, an in-ground pool for their house. They sit down and say, we really can't afford a pool, we can't go out and get a loan, it's not the fiscal responsible thing to do, so what do? So they all sit down, they get together, they look at their bills, see where they can cut, whether it's not going out to eat, saving $100 a month, they take that, put it in an envelope for a pool fund. They don't go out to the movies as much, they sit home and watch Netflix or watch TV, save money there, take the money from the entertainment fund, put $10 in there until they save it. I think we could actually look into our 2014 budget and look for things to cut back on and stick it into the pool fund.
What bike
For
track
example,
were you
like
referring to?
what's that?
What bike track were you referring to that
Bike
we're
path.
putting in?
The bike path, if we were going to do that.
We did.
We were gonna be able to come up with that $300,000 though.
Well, it was
The
more like,
council didn't.
The council
Right.
did not.
We
But we would have been
didn't,
able to come up with it.
it was
We would have found a way.
250,000 and it was,
That's
it
what
was a one
We would have
time.
been able
It was
to,
over.
It was one time.
right. But we would have found a way to come up with some money.
Well,
I voted
One
against
time,
it because I voted against it because I couldn't see a way to come up with it.
Right, but what I'm saying is we would have found a way to come up with some money
The
over that
question,
I
period of
don't
time.
agree with that, I don't think we would.
I think you're missing, in my opinion, I think you're missing the question here. The question is, do we wanna ask voters if they want a pool, or do you wanna just let the pool committee? They've been very good, they've worked very hard. and
Absolutely.
They deserve an answer.
Yeah,
And this, to me, is the way to give the pool committee an answer and the city of Peru an answer. That we're gonna have one or we're not, but it's their decision. The decision is that there's no more to cut out of the budget.
Your Honor, I believe there is.
No, there's not when you're looking at $221,000, $2.5 million pool over 20 years, you're looking at a payback of $221,000 plus $250,000 for operating expense.
I believe there are some adjustments that we could look into making though.
You're
to
not
actually
gonna
save
come up
funds.
with that $500,000. You're not gonna come up with it.
If the referendum comes back as a no and the people aren't gonna have pay for a property tax or have it included in their property tax, then what are we gonna do? We can't just tell the pool committee, no, we gotta come up with
Then
another way to
it's-
fund.
Then it's done.
We can't,
You
we
have
can't
to
do
bring it to an
that.
ultimatum sooner or later, then it'll be done.
I don't agree with that.
No.
I can't see any way that people in Peru are gonna support a property tax.
Well,
for,
we don't know. Why don't,
I can't see any way that they're gonna do that, so.
all I'm
So
saying,
I just think, I don't know why I need a referendum.
Put the
to prove
question
something
mark.
I already know.
I'd say let's go with the cards.
Yeah, I would support that too, you hit a lot more people that way.
I
I
think,
just think, I don't need a referendum to prove something that I'm pretty sure I already know, which is that people aren't gonna support a property tax increase for a pool. I don't see why we need a referendum to
Well,
prove that.
then how, first of all, I wanna thank the pool committee.
Absolutely.
They've been going for years and making $100 here, $100, but we're not getting it done. Debbie's worked hard trying to find bonds, grants, and they're not there. Let's do this, and this'll tell us whether the people want a pool or not. If they're willing to pay for it, let's build it. But let's not just sit back here and keep making $100 a year. It's not gonna pay for it, and no, we don't have the money right now to do it.
Your Honor, the idea of the cards, I'm concerned about the security of it as far as who turns in the cards. First of all, it goes out on a utility bill. A lot of those people that get the cards don't pay property tax in the city. And also, who's actually gonna turn it in? It's loose laying around. Whereas a vote, an actual vote on a ballot, I can consider that as a valid interpretation of the wants of the city.
that's the decision that needs to be made by the council.
That was my comment.
So far we have 2 different, so, we still have 6 more people.
I would support, Your Honor, going out on a referendum. I think that, that's the way to find out if people want it or not.